Right, so hashtag doing it live. Get on the first slide here.
At least you're not programming live.
Yeah, right. Okay, so since we're not doing the break, I just need to grab the transcript real quick because this is not structured in the same way as the rest of these PowerPoint presentations. This is more like the panel I did at SakuraCon a couple years ago, where it's like a YouTube video, kind of augments it. So if there's something you miss, it's not going to be on screen. Let me throw the transcript down here for you. It's going to be in speaker links, so it's in a nice little spot. All right, come on, Discord. Why you do this? There we go. Just boom. All right, so give all of you a second to grab that. Where's the share screen? Gonna be 2. I want to share screen 2, not both of them. What's going on? Come on, Zoom. There we go. Thank you. All right, is that working?
And yes.
All right, perfect. All right, so as I was saying before beginning, there's a transcript of this talk available at the Sekai Project Discord. Look for posts by me, MAHO, Cody. It should be one of the top results. You can even read ahead and spoil the whole darn thing for yourself. This is a picture of Shoko from A Silent Voice. Amazing manga. Pretty good movie as well. Shoko is deaf. She would use the transcript. You might end up using it too if you're zoned out at your computer and suddenly go, wait, what did he say? That sounded important. All right, well, so with that out of the way, what's up, gamers? My name is Cody, and welcome to my panel. So you're working with random strangers online, the basics of online collaboration and etiquette. You've worked with RenPy, with Clip Studio Paint, Audacity, various other assorted programs, and now you're working with other people. Hooray! So who am I and why should you care? Great questions. First off, I'm Cody. We've been over that. Hello, I run a small YouTube channel called MAHO Studio. We did RPG Maker content for about 4 years, including my comedy isekai series, Defeat the Darkness, filmed entirely in RPG Maker, as well as a 50-plus episode run of game design podcasts called the RPG Maker General Podcast, later called MAHO Indie Spotlight. Among other projects that I've been in that require me to remain anonymous, the RPGMG podcast was started by just random people on 4chan. Yes, that 4chan. Kind of started going downhill last decade. Couldn't tell you why. Anyway, I'm here today to share some of my experiences collaborating with that user base. 4chan truly is a crucible where only the sturdy and the diligent will survive. They are some of the most skeptical, the most flaky, the most volatile, but also some of the most passionate and talented people I've ever met. Keeping them interested in a project was a unique challenge, and the lessons I've learned over these last 9 years will hopefully help you in your own journey to make fun things online with people that right now you barely know, if you've even met them yet. The 2 repeating themes of this talk are going to be the following: clarity and kindness. You've probably heard hints of this throughout the day. Make any instructions you give easy to understand and treat your fellow collaborators with the same respect you'd like in return. A simple way to know if you're doing it right is to look at something you're about to send and say, if I received this message or saw this post online, would I know what the sender meant? And do I come off as a jerk? Let's start with clarity. How do you make your message easy to understand? Long story short, it's in the preparation. Sun Tzu once wrote, know yourself and know your enemy, and you shall be the victor of 1,000 battles. And for this exercise, he's not too far off. Let's say you're in a game jam. You have a killer idea. You're looking for volunteers to bring it to life. What's your recruitment page going to look like? If you've ever been on an amateur voice acting forum, you've likely seen some teeny bopper make a post along the lines of, hey guys, I want to dub all of Naruto and I'm looking for voice talent, woo! And that's the entire content of their thread. This is their first post on this forum. They have no resume. They have no portfolio. They have no idea the type of work they're signing up to do and no idea how to accomplish any of it. See this kid? All passion and no technique. Give him a couple more seasons before you let him run anything. He needs more seasoning. Get it? And he's not bad people. I mean, we were all ambitious young children at some point, but you already know your time and effort won't be respected by this director. And will not be rewarded very well by working under them. Dubbing all 743 episodes of Naruto also runs into problems with scope. We'll tackle that later. When I did my casting for Defeat the Darkness, I was keenly aware of looking immature and sought to copy voice audition threads that included useful information for potential voice actors, like a character's age, the general story arc, the type of voice I was looking for, the fact that I programmed the game in its entirety in RPG Maker before casting, so there was a great chance it was getting done. You know, anything that would make an actor go, gee, this dude sounds like he really has his act together. I wouldn't mind working with this dude. Do whatever you can to make that good first impression. When you're working online, sometimes that's all people will be able to judge you on, so make it count. When you're a director, how do you give direction? Everyone communicates differently. This makes it hard sometimes to offer feedback or constructive criticism. Before you open your mouth, always ask yourself, is this going to make our product better? And am I going to sound like a jerk when I say it? Tone in certain circumstances can be more important than the words you actually used. Some people can't take jokes. Some people think they're telling jokes, but they're actually being really freaking rude. Was that the intent? Probably not. Always assume incompetence over malice when you can. The safest way to present your ideas to new people is with clarity and kindness. You want to be specific with your feedback in a way that the other person can take reasonable action to improve it, and phrase your feedback in a way that's polite and respectful. In this example, I'm the director for this game, and my character artist submitted this. I love it, but I think the character would look a whole lot cooler if he had a red hat. Just go back and give him a red hat. I can see it in my brain perfectly, and if my artist knows what they're doing, they would see this red hat too and immediately put it on him after being inspired by me to draw it. No. No, nah, perfect. All of that was on their time for free on a picture that they might have thought was done. Now, what if they never see the red hat I see and I just draw it on myself? Oh, but our art styles don't match, so now I redraw the whole character myself. Oh, but now I guess I got to redraw all the characters myself, so they're consistent. And then I tell my artist to ditch all the art they've currently already done and try to match my style from now on. I mean, that's just perfectly reasonable, right? But it's not. They were supposed to be the artist. What am I saying now about their contribution to the project? And how excited are they to work with me ever again? So, how do you avoid this? Well, when someone brings you a piece of art or writing or music and you think it sucks, don't just say off the cuff, oh, I think it sucks. Think about why it might suck to you. Think about what it's missing. Think about what extra things might be weighing it down. Think about how it could better fit the overall vision for the game. If you didn't give specific directions the first time, now that you've seen this panel, put on your clarity hat and try to give the people around you feedback that is, once again, reasonably actionable, something they can quickly understand and work to improve. If you can't quite put your finger on the problem, do some research. It'll help you clarify what you believe the problem is, and you'll be able to have a productive conversation with your talent. With the right preparation, you can end half these discussions before they even start. Let's say this is your project, Midnight in Paris. It's a very short dating sim. You're going to have one ending CG. Have you told your team what it is yet? Have you, as the director, done any directing on this one? What are your expectations? The MC's kiss. Okay. At the top of the Eiffel Tower? At night, midnight in Paris. Makes sense. With fireworks in the background. That look like a heart. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. This type of prep might sound ridiculous, but it's necessary. These people aren't inside your head, and you are not going to be awake at all hours of the day to answer all of their questions. You need to communicate to your team in a way that they will understand the instructions whether or not you're there. Clarity. Perhaps you'd like a real-life example. Back in September for the Spooktober Jam, I was recruited to be a voice actor in Last Meal at Cafe Mori. It's free on itch. Check it out. This game was by Katie133, and you'll hear from her after Tom's presentation. She'll be covering what she did to host DevTalk's Winter Jam. I'll entice you to stay for her talk by mentioning this. She is so flippin' organized. For Last Meal at Cafe Mori, every single line of voice acting was in a neat little spreadsheet. Every single line of voice acting had 2 notes attached: the tone and the context. She knew exactly what she wanted and went to great lengths to explain it to the team in a way that we could all understand without needing to ask. She could go to bed safe in the knowledge that when she woke up, her voice talent would deliver files that were formatted properly and worked organically between each character. When you go that far out of your way to make someone else's job easier, people notice and they'll want to work with you again. And I would definitely run it back with Katie and the Cafe Mori team if the schedule gods showed any mercy. And being that prepared and that specific has a very important side effect. People will learn that you're not going to waste their time and that the things you say are in fact designed to make the project better. This is what's known as building a good reputation. This is not your last interaction with this community, hopefully, so you'll want to build one of these. A little etiquette goes a long way, folks. If you aren't sure about what you want and you aren't nice when you ask for it, don't expect to make a lot of friends. Kindness. Drink water. I wasn't supposed to say that. I was just supposed to drink the water. Or was I? Art is a lie. Nothing is real. But yeah, stay hydrated. Directing amateurs is a huge challenge, but also highly rewarding. When running a game jam or any nonprofit project, really, remember that anyone who's helping out is there because they want to be there. They're passionate about it. They want to learn. They want to do it right. And everyone is trying to make their portion of the project the best that they can. Is it going to be perfect? No, but it isn't about being perfect. It's not about making money. It's about meeting new people, working on your skills, and feeding your passion. The only thing more important than shipping a product is making sure everyone had a good time working on it. The short-term nature of jams is great because there's always next time. And if people liked you last time, they'll be more than happy to do the next one. And hopefully that one ships. If it doesn't, start working on your scope. Briefly, scope is everything you intend to add to your game. Every piece of art, every story route, every sound effect, every note of music, it's got to come from somewhere. And then somebody's got to sort it and stick it all together like a giant digital Lego model with half the instructions missing. And then someone wants to add full voice acting or RPG elements and a 3D golf mini game, and you're like, dude, there's no way we can make all this happen. That's when your scope is run out of control. For any project, for any creative work you tackle in the future, not just VNs, it will help you and your team to have a solid outline before you recruit, so anyone who looks to join will have solid expectations. What's this look like? Well, back in May of 2020, I joined a visual novel jam called Only One of Any Asset. 2. It was the second one. You were allowed to have one character, one background, one sound effect, one music track, 1,000 words to tell your story, and you had 1 week to do it. And I did. It was my very first visual novel. I released it with my girlfriend. It's called The Big Speech. Check it out on Itch. It's free. The limits were realistic and manageable, so much so that as my very first release, it was a smooth, clean story experience and free of bugs. Woo! You're likely going to have grander plans with your game. Just remember that when you involve other people, playtime is over and you really need to learn how to finish. Being nice is just as important as finishing, but for a lasting career, you need to do both. We've gone over being a director. We've gone over scope. Let's change gears a bit from being the showrunner to now being one of the showrunnees. You're looking to join a jam and found a dynamite recruitment thread. You like the idea, you like the director, your talent matches their need, whatever it may be. You apply and they accept. Welcome aboard. Have they told you how much work they expect you to do? Was it in their recruitment pitch? If not, it's important to ask early. This is not an awkward question. You deserve to know the expectations going in. I mean, you're about to throw a whole lot of your time and effort at this bad boy. And if your director can't tell you, then congratulations. You've accidentally uncovered a bad director and saved yourself a lot of trouble by getting the heck out of there early before they wasted any more of your time. A lack of preparation on that scale is usually just the tip of the iceberg. Better to leave early than to stick around and let this idiot director poison your enjoyment of your hobby. I mean, who knows? They might try to make you dub all of Naruto. Fast forward to finding a good director. They've assembled a ragtag group of misfits to work on their visual novel. None of you really know each other, and over the next few days, you're going to find out. What is chemistry? Well, when an oxygen atom and two hydrogen atoms love each other very, very much. Sorry, chemistry between people, styles of working. Okay. Prepare for a terrible food metaphor. There's no better match than chocolate and peanut butter. Yum. But let's say you're carrots. You're going to work better with peanut butter, usually, most of the time. If you're strawberries, you'll be fine with either, but you may have to adjust what exactly you're doing and how you're communicating things. Chocolate, peanut butter. How do you know if you're strawberries or carrots or lemons? Well, if you didn't do enough group projects in school, this is how you're going to find out. As the host of the RPG Maker General podcast, I learned over time which people gave great analysis, which people told great jokes, what games people had in common, and my job eventually became that of an arbiter, where I would guide the current discussion towards people or subjects that could use attention. If we were joking too much, I get us back on track. If we were doing too much wordy in-depth analysis, I make a silly pun and give us an outlet to move on. If someone was losing interest, I ask them an intriguing question. The more time you spend in this environment, the better you'll get at reading the room. The best way to get good at it is, just like was said earlier with the acting one, is to dive right in and have that experience. My first brush with VN Dev was rather unique. Crystal Gameworks was looking for volunteers to work on their NaNoRenO project, Enamored Risks. It's free on Steam. Check it out. Zaina Best Girl. Seeing as I knew nothing at the time about art or composing or otome, I signed up to be a production assistant, learn how the sausage gets made, and spend a few hours a day meeting new people in a very special March when many of us were stuck at home. Pandemic reference, please drink. The project manager, Miko, you heard from her earlier today, was a class act and answered my questions the best she could, but it became pretty clear that she had a lot on her plate, and I was at best a distraction, while certain departments might literally have been on fire. So I took stock of the situation. Here I was in my first VN jam with approximately zero knowledge of making VNs and no assigned responsibilities. I couldn't help make the game, but I liked these people. So how could I help? The answer was Jackbox. I hosted the podcast for 4 years. I hosted trivia at a bar for a good while. I was a college radio DJ. I'm known for putting on a good show. So I just put myself in charge of team building exercises. For 6 weeks during NaNoRenO, I ran Jackbox games for Miko and the squad while they devoted their talent and expertise to finishing the actual game, Enamored Risks. The whole thing turned out pretty well. I had a set job to do, I had purpose and meaning, and I got in the credits. Thanks, y'all. That was a fun time. What's your job in a game jam? When I was running the podcast for 4 years, let's see here. Where the heck was I? There we go. When I was running the podcast, I handled scheduling, recording, editing, mixing, making the thumbnails at a certain point, uploading the final mix to YouTube, and posting about it on social media. The rest of the guys just talked about video games. In Season 3 and beyond, we all played through a specific game and gave analysis on it, and I respect them for the work, but all in all, I was still doing the vast majority of it. Never do all the work. Never do all the work. Even if you think you're better at it. Now, the podcast crew didn't sign up for any responsibilities, but everyone in your jam group did. Remember the red hat example from before? Surprise! This is now a talk about boundaries. Suppose for a moment you're making a picture book. There are two people involved in this process, the artist and the writer. They've both read tons of picture books. They have worked on many before this and hopefully will work on many after this. The writer will have opinions about the art and the artist will have opinions about the story, but ultimately they have their assigned roles and these boundaries should be respected by their collaborators. This is not your job. This is not their job. You will have feedback on their job and they might have feedback on your job, but this is their job and this is your job. Remember, there's always next time, so even if you can't stand this person doing this job, remember that they don't have to come with you when you do your next job. Unfortunately for both of you, you're on this job right now together, and you really can't stand each other. Sometimes people just aren't compatible, like carrots and chocolate. Now you're in a bad relationship and you have a baby. That baby is your game. Is this baby worth saving? Are both of you able to set aside your differences and work to ship this game? You can't take your frustrations out on the game itself either. That doesn't help anyone. Have the big adult conversation and be realistic. Was it boundaries being violated? Was it bad communication? Was someone's effort not respected? Or are they just a prick? Share your feelings. Even if the conversation sucks, even if it feels awkward, even if you still hate them afterwards and the game is dead, you'll both appreciate the clarity of each other's positions and can make smarter decisions with the shared knowledge. Even if that decision is leaving the DM group, blasting Linkin Park, and eating some really disgusting ice cream. All of that is still better than being on a team for however much longer, toiling away at some game for free with some jerk you can't stand. Mic drop. No, this thing's expensive. Never mind. In closing, let me tell you a story about my web series Defeat the Darkness and why everything I've just said up to now is so important. I auditioned the voice actors for the show in June 2014. Most of them had about 30 to 40 lines, and they got them in pretty quickly, and they moved on with their lives. One character was a major player. They had quite a bit more and gave me about 2/3 of the script. I had lost motivation on making it before I ran out of lines, so this wasn't a huge deal until about 2017 when I swore up and down that I was finishing this damn thing. I sent an email 2 weeks before Thanksgiving along the lines of, hey, I know it's been like 2.5 years since we last talked, but want to finish off this script? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, whoa, thanks, sweet baby Jesus. I did not have a plan B. The holidays were obviously a factor, but on January 10th, 2018, the last of the retakes came in, and that very same day I uploaded the final 3 episodes of Defeat the Darkness. The quest was over. It was done. I want to highlight some things. 1, what does it say about their character that they came back to finish the show? And I don't mean the character they played. I mean their character as a person. They're made of good stuff. 2nd, what does it say about how I managed the project that they were willing to jump back in? And with those combined, what does it say about the trust they had in me to fulfill my promise? If I ever get money for a video game project and need a voice actor, I am scouting them immediately because they have proven to themselves to be someone that I definitely want to work with again. When you give clarity and show kindness, you will build relationships where people will come back. And if you can do that without doing all the work yourself, congratulations, you're properly working with random strangers online. Thank you.
All right, that was amazing. And we spent all our time memeing, so I have to like give everyone a second to like
I would like to thank the program Discord for so many transparent PNGs to use for this presentation.
So hopefully someone can like come out and ask a question because we were way too busy memeing. If you scroll back in the chat, it is constant.
Oh God. I gotta look at this now.
Oh boy.
God Squad. Represent Subcoda. Fall until there's plum. Burn it all, yeah. Yeah, they might recognize some of these emotes. The thinking one during the context me and cough. Yes. I'm glad. This was the best result.
Yes. Okay. That's all right. I don't see anything. You guys are going. Yeah. Dev Talk is also going crazy. Okay, here's one.
Wait, what did he say? That sounded important. Sup, Wolfborg? Yes. Okay. Jesty asks, okay, so where do you find random strangers to work with? So I literally found mine on 4chan. And what you don't recognize from the podcast, from just knowing that it exists, is that we had between 20 and 30 people that had been on at some point. But by the end of season 2, it was me, Brandon, Robin, and then occasionally one of my friends or a guest that we interviewed. So there was an extensive vetting process where people got the podcast bug out of their system. So, you just have to find a community that you can tolerate and start vetting people. And the ones that stick around for multiple projects, you're going to realize you like them, or you're going to realize you don't. You got to kick their ass out of there. and be honest about it. When do you fire people who aren't working is something Shino asked. So that is tough. That is really, really tough. Obviously, if it's a shorter term project and it's not a whole lot of work and they could have given it to you really quickly, then you got to be honest about that. Just, you know, God, people really like the end. Thank you so much.
See, someone's
But
asking, what do you recommend doing if someone's really underperforming?
if someone's really underperforming, obviously if they're with that sort of thing, again, you have to assume incompetence over malice. If they're not giving you the same stuff that you like, if they aren't giving you the quality or the quantity, if it's a quantity question, there's a couple ways to break the ice. Is in like, hey, are you doing okay? Do you have time to complete this? There's a couple ways that you can kind of peer into it and ask politely without like being accusatory. And that's really what you want to avoid when again, everyone's a random stranger. You got to be really nice when you talk to people. You got to assume the best and you got to make sure you're taking care of them, because even if they're lazy jerks and they never work with you again, at least they can't take their experience with you and share it with another community and say, dude, this guy's an asshole, never work with him, because they're never going to meet you. And it's going to be really hard to overcome that later.
Okay, someone's asked us 3 questions at once. Where do you find teams to join? How do you know if the team leader's good to work with? And then how do you know if you're ready for collaboration?
So the way you're going to know if you're ready for collaboration, I'll answer that one first, is the Sun Tzu method. Know yourself and know your goals and limitations, and you shall be the victor of 1,000 game jams. The way you're going to find a good director, the best way to start collaborating with people is to find someone who at least appears to be a good director. Because going back to that Naruto thing earlier, if a director says, I'm going to make a game that is this long, it has this many characters, we're doing this many CGs or whatever, you're going to have very set boundaries there. And if you're an artist, for the sake of example, let's say you're an artist and you're like, okay, this guy wants 2 characters and 5 expressions. I can do 2 characters and 5 expressions. I'm going to apply to join this team. Or if someone says, I'm writing something and I want to co-write it and it's 5,000 words. And now writing is a bit different because obviously creative control is a big issue. But if there's multiple routes, okay, I'll do one route, or I'll do this filler chapter and you can check it for consistency. Don't assume that the job application on the page is what you necessarily have to follow. So if someone says, I need someone to write, X amount of words, say, hey, I can do that, but I'm going to need you to double check me and make sure that it's consistent with your world building. That's totally fine. I think that there's a lot of directors out there who would rather work with someone who doesn't feel like they're ready but is willing to learn than to work with someone who is definitely talented but doesn't take feedback, doesn't take criticism, and is just going to muck everything up. And yeah, game jams, as people are saying in the comments, like literally game jams, like Magical Girl Jam is happening in Dev Talk right now. And if you say, hey, I'm a rank newbie and I want to make a short game, and I'm a programmer, and someone says, hey, I'm a rank newbie and I want to make a short game and I am good for like 3 pieces of art, well, shoot, you guys aren't going to change the world with your game, but you're both going to get that necessary practice. Yeah.
All right, Coda had a question about what's your advice for working with friends over strangers, and are there any pitfalls?
So I've run into this before. So your friends you're going to get along with really good. But what I would say about friends versus strangers is that generally friends are great to work with, but also friends tends to want to assume more creative control because they know you and they want to have more influence over the final product. So that boils down to preference and mindset, right? Because it's really bad to make certain friends your business partners for the same reason it's really bad to make certain friends your partners in making a game because you know the output, the money, what's going to happen with the final result. If you make a game with strangers, they're like, okay, none of us know each other. If I don't feel like I'm being respected, I'll bounce, but otherwise, sure, they're the director, whatever, you know. So it is very very tough sometimes to work with friends, but sometimes it's also worth it.